Biography of Niccolo Machiavelli. Niccolò Machiavelli was an Italian diplomat, political thinker, historian, and writer, best known for The Prince, one of the most influential works of political thought ever written. He was born on the 3rd of May 1469 in Florence, Italy, during the height of the Renaissance. His family belonged to the lower nobility and, although not wealthy, they valued education. Machiavelli received a strong humanist education, studying Latin, history, and classical literature, especially the works of Roman historians such as Livy and Tacitus. Machiavelli grew up in a period of political instability. Florence was repeatedly shaken by conflicts between powerful families, foreign invasions, and shifting alliances. These early experiences exposed him to the realities of power, ambition, and betrayal, themes that would later dominate his writing. In 1498, after the fall of the religious leader Girolamo Savonarola, Machiavelli was appointed second chancellor of the Florentine Republic. This position marked the beginning of his active political career. As a civil servant and diplomat, Machiavelli traveled widely on behalf of Florence. He undertook diplomatic missions to France, Germany, and the papal court in Rome, and he closely observed powerful rulers such as King Louis XII of France and Pope Julius II. One of the most significant figures he encountered was Cesare Borgia, whose methods of gaining and maintaining power left a lasting impression on him. These experiences gave Machiavelli direct insight into the practical workings of politics, warfare, and leadership. In 1512, Machiavelli's career came to an abrupt end when the Medici family returned to power in Florence. The Republican government was overthrown, and Machiavelli was dismissed from office. He was later accused of conspiring against the Medici, imprisoned and tortured. Although he was eventually released, he was banned from holding public office. This period marked a major turning point in his life. Exiled from politics, Machiavelli retired to his small farm outside Florence. It was during this time that he produced most of his major works. In 1513, he wrote The Prince, a short but powerful book intended to win favor with the Medici and secure his return to political life. In the work, Machiavelli set aside idealistic views of morality and focused instead on how power actually operates in the real world. Although The Prince was not published during his lifetime, it would later become his most famous and controversial work. Alongside The Prince, Machiavelli wrote Discourses on Livy, a longer and more detailed work that praises republican government and civic virtue. He also wrote The Art of War, The History of Florence, and several plays and poems, including the comedy Mandragola. These works reveal a writer deeply engaged with history, politics, and human nature, rather than a simple advocate of tyranny. Despite his efforts, Machiavelli never fully regained the political influence he once held. He continued to undertake minor assignments for the Medici, but remained largely excluded from real power. He died on the 21st of June, 1527 in Florence, shortly after the Medici were once again expelled from the city. After his death, Machiavelli's reputation grew dramatically. His name became associated with cunning, manipulation, and ruthless ambition, giving rise to the term Machiavellian. However, modern scholarship recognizes him as a sharp observer of political reality rather than a promoter of evil. His writings continue to be studied worldwide for their insight into power, leadership, and the complexities of human behavior. Summary of The Prince. Niccolo Machiavelli opens The Prince by addressing rulers and those who desire to rule. He states plainly that all states which have exercised authority over people have taken one of two forms: republics or principalities. Since republics have already been discussed at length elsewhere, he limits his attention entirely to principalities. His aim is clear and practical. He intends to explain how principalities are acquired, how they are governed, how they are preserved, and why they are sometimes lost. He begins by explaining that principalities fall into two broad categories: hereditary and new. Hereditary principalities are those that have been ruled by the same family for a long time. These are the easiest to govern and maintain because the people are accustomed to the ruling house. Tradition works in favor of the prince. As long as he does not disrupt established customs, impose excessive burdens, or behave tyrannically, the people are unlikely to rebel. Even when difficulties arise, loyalty tends to return naturally because the memory of long rule binds subjects to the ruling family. Hatred does not easily grow where habit and continuity exist. New principalities present far greater challenges. Some are entirely new states, while others are territories added to an existing realm. These new territories may be acquired in different ways: through personal ability and skill, through fortune and luck, or through the arms and support of others. Machiavelli explains that those who gain power through their own ability face great difficulty in acquiring authority, but once they succeed, they are more secure. Their strength lies in their competence and independence. Those who gain power through fortune or external support rise quickly, but their position is unstable. They lack loyalty, experience, and strong foundations, and when fortune changes, they are easily overthrown. Machiavelli explains that when a prince acquires a new territory that shares the same language, laws, and customs as his own state, it is relatively easy to control. In such cases, the prince needs only to eliminate the former ruling family and preserve existing institutions. The people do not feel deeply affected because their daily lives remain largely unchanged. Resistance fades quickly, and the new ruler becomes accepted with little effort. However, when a prince acquires a territory that differs in language, customs, and laws, the task becomes much more difficult. In such situations, Machiavelli advises that the prince should either go and live in the new territory or establish colonies there. By residing personally among the people, the prince can observe problems as they arise and address them before they grow serious. His presence discourages disorder and reassures loyal subjects. Colonies, though they may harm a small number of people by taking their land, are effective and inexpensive. Those who are harmed are too weak and isolated to resist, while the majority remain undisturbed. Military occupation, by contrast, places a burden on the entire population, creates resentment, and weakens loyalty. Machiavelli stresses that a prince must manage neighboring powers carefully. He should prevent strong neighbors from gaining influence and support weaker ones. He must never allow foreign powers to establish a foothold in the region, as they will always seek to dominate rather than assist. He praises the Roman approach to expansion, noting that they anticipated dangers and acted decisively before threats became unavoidable. Delay, he warns, only benefits others. He compares political problems to illnesses. In their early stages, diseases are difficult to recognize but easy to cure. When they have advanced, they are easy to recognize but difficult to cure. Wise rulers, therefore, act early, even when danger is not immediately visible. Waiting until problems are obvious often means it is already too late. Machiavelli then turns to principalities acquired through criminal actions. Some individuals rise to power through betrayal, violence, and cruelty. He explains that such methods can succeed if cruelty applied decisively and all at once. Violence used quickly and efficiently removes opposition and creates stability. Cruelty that is prolonged or repeated breeds hatred and insecurity. Injuries should be inflicted at once, while benefits should be distributed gradually so that gratitude lasts longer than resentment. He gives examples of rulers who seized power through harsh measures but governed peacefully once opposition was destroyed. People, he explains, forget injuries more easily when they are not repeated. Continuous oppression, however, keeps hatred alive and invites rebellion. Machiavelli then discusses civil principalities, where power is gained through the support of fellow citizens rather than military force. These principalities arise when either the nobles or the people elevate someone to leadership. A prince supported by the nobles is vulnerable because nobles are ambitious and seek to dominate. They are difficult to control and quick to conspire. A prince supported by the people is more secure because the people desire only not to be oppressed. Their demands are simpler and more reasonable. He strongly advises princes to align themselves with the people. Even if the nobles oppose him, popular support provides stability. A prince who loses the favor of the people has no defense, regardless of fortifications or armies. Public hatred leaves a ruler isolated and exposed. Machiavelli then examines ecclesiastical principalities, which are governed by religious institutions. These states are unique because they are sustained by tradition, belief, and religious authority rather than human effort. They are acquired and maintained with little difficulty. Their rulers face few threats because religious reverence shields them from opposition. Machiavelli treats these states briefly, noting their stability without analyzing their internal workings. Having explained the types of principalities and their acquisition, Machiavelli turns to military matters. He insists that the foundation of all states lies in good arms. Without military strength, laws cannot be enforced and authority cannot be maintained. A prince who neglects military matters invites ruin. He strongly condemns mercenary soldiers, describing them as useless and dangerous. Mercenaries fight for money, not loyalty. They lack discipline, courage, and commitment. In times of danger, they flee or turn against those who employ them. Relying on mercenaries leaves a state defenseless. He also condemns auxiliary troops borrowed from other rulers. Such forces serve foreign interests and are even more dangerous than mercenaries. If they succeed, the prince becomes dependent on another power. If they fail, he is left vulnerable. Either outcome is harmful. The only reliable army, Machiavelli insists, is one composed of a prince's own subjects or citizens. Such soldiers fight for their homeland, their ruler, and their own survival. A prince must organize, train, and command his own forces. He urges rulers to study warfare constantly, even in times of peace. They should train soldiers, study terrain, learn strategy, and read history to understand the successes and failures of past leaders. War, Machiavelli declares, is the only proper occupation of rulers. A prince who neglects military preparedness will inevitably lose power. Peace exists only when a state is strong enough to defend itself. Machiavelli then turns to the personal qualities of a prince. He criticizes writers who describe ideal rulers rather than real ones. He argues that a prince who always acts virtuously will fail among people who are not virtuous. Human nature is selfish, deceitful, and unstable. A ruler must understand this reality and act accordingly. He discusses qualities such as generosity, mercy, honesty, faithfulness, and kindness. While these traits are praised, Machiavelli warns that practicing them without restraint can be dangerous. Excessive generosity drains resources and forces rulers to impose heavy taxes, leading to resentment. Excessive mercy allows disorder to grow, resulting in greater harm. Honesty and faithfulness are admirable, but rulers who rely solely on them are often defeated by deceitful opponents. Machiavelli argues that a prince should appear merciful, faithful, humane, honest, and religious. Appearances matter greatly because most people judge by what they see. However, the prince must be ready to act against these virtues when necessity demands it. Survival and stability take precedence over moral ideals. He compares rulers to both lions and foxes. The lion represents strength and force, while the fox represents cunning and intelligence. A prince who relies only on strength will fall into traps. A prince who relies only on cunning will be overpowered. A successful ruler must combine both qualities. Machiavelli then addresses the question of whether it is better to be loved or feared. He concludes that it is safer to be feared, because fear depends on punishment, which a ruler controls. Love depends on obligation, which people abandon when it suits them. However, fear must not turn into hatred. A prince must avoid actions that create lasting resentment. He should never take property unjustly or violate women, as such actions provoke deep and enduring hatred. He explains that cruelty, when used properly, can create order and security. A ruler who punishes decisively prevents chaos and protects the majority. Mercy that allows disorder results in greater suffering for the people. Machiavelli discusses reputation and explains that a prince must avoid being despised. Weakness, indecision, and inconsistency invite contempt. A ruler must appear firm, confident, and resolute. Respect strengthens authority and discourages rebellion. He then explains how a prince should manage advisors. A wise ruler chooses capable and loyal counselors. He allows them to speak honestly, but only when asked. Advisors should not speak freely at all times, as this undermines authority. The prince must remain the final decision-maker. He warns against flatterers, who deceive rulers and lead them into error. A wise prince creates an environment where truth can be spoken without fear, but only through trusted advisors. Machiavelli then turns to fortune. He explains that fortune governs part of human affairs, but not all. He compares fortune to a violent river that floods and destroys when unrestrained. Wise rulers prepare defenses in advance. Those who adapt their actions to circumstances succeed. Fortune favors boldness, energy, and flexibility. He observes that different times require different approaches. A ruler who cannot change his methods when circumstances change will fail. Success lies in recognizing the moment and acting accordingly. Machiavelli concludes by addressing Italy, which he describes as divided, weak, and dominated by foreign powers. He calls upon a strong leader to unite the country, expel foreign armies, and restore national strength. He praises past heroes and presents the opportunity for glory, honor, and lasting power. The book ends with this appeal, offering the vision of a united and powerful state led by decisive leadership.